Wait, if we can't record out inside, I'd rather the meeting outside.
Can you please respect my decision not to have a camera in my face?
I don't know. I don't think you're respecting too much of other people's.
Fran, can we just talk about this for 1 sec? If you're letting us record,
There's not going to be any recorder in the building.
well, let's have the meeting outside.
We're going to have the meeting inside.
Inside or outside?
We're going to have the meeting right here.
Oh, you said
Then we're going to go inside and take a tour, and then we're going to come back out here for Q&A.
All right, so the meeting is outside.
That's correct.
Q&A is outside. All the information will be talked about outside.
That's correct.
And we can record that without the viewer on.
That would be great.
We can audio record it. Okay, good. That works.
This way, please, under the tree, or toward the tree. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm sure some people will be trickling in. In setting up the meeting, what we're hoping to accomplish, or what I want to accomplish. My name is Fran Camaj. I'm the owner of Gjelina. We have a handful of people that are part of Gjelina and GTA as well to talk about the project afterward. I'm here. Sort of the main thing is where we are in the project now. What are we asking for permission to do in the future, and then address questions and concerns from prior community meetings, like the big three: parking, noise, alcohol, seem to be the big three. So I'll do the best I can to address those three, and then afterwards we'll walk back out and we'll enter into the bakery through the front door, kind of from like the customer perspective. We'll give you an opportunity to tour the place, tour the back area as well. We politely ask for you not to take photos or cameras inside, outside here as much as you want, and then after a brief tour of the bakery, we'll come back out here for Q&A. Okay.
Just introduce me. I'm Jim Ures, real quick, from the Neighborhood Council. I'll be taking staff reports. Thank you.
Jim Ures is from the Land Use Planning Committee, and the process here in Venice. This case will be brought to the Land Use Planning Committee for review, for community input, community questions, answer questions at a LUPAC meeting, which is at the Oakwood Rec Center here in Venice. And then the LUPAC takes a vote. They make a recommendation to the Neighborhood Council, and hopefully 2 or 3 weeks later, another public meeting at Westminster Elementary School for the Venice Neighborhood Council for them to give a vote. There's about 17 or 18 board members where they vote to make a recommendation to the city, like, hey, city, should it happen, and to what level, to what scale? These are our recommendations to the city. So, and I'm glad Jim spoke up, and I'm glad I had a chance to talk to you a little bit about the process, because there's some confusion, like, hey, it looks like they're almost done, and are they going to be done next week? And it is a 2-step process, or it has been a 2-step process, and it was very deliberately a 2-step process on our part. What we went in and applied for about 1.5 years ago was the opportunity to build a bakery component that's going to prepare and cook food, and food for people to take away, food for us to cater, or also from a retail perspective. We don't have our display cases in; those are the last things that are coming in. So an opportunity to come in and again buy those foods on a retail means, packaged food and/or eating it there on site, or coming out in the parking lot and eating it. That is what has been approved, and that is what we're a month or 2 from completing. Where we are now in this process, in terms of what we're seeking permission for, is the ability to have specific waiter service, or have seating out on a patio where a server's coming out and saying, hey, can I take your order, and give you the option to buy alcohol, a full line of beverages, beer, wine, liquor as well. Where we are in that process, if all goes tremendously well and the community rallies behind it and everyone says that's the greatest idea ever, the fastest that would happen would be 1 year from today, probably longer. So I wanted to address that
What about the takeout beer and wine sales?
You never mention it. This meeting, and to make sure the efficiencies of this meeting, I'm going to do the best I can to direct it. I don't excel at this necessarily, but I want it to be a clear and coherent meeting to the best of my ability. For sure, like interruptions, and it just becomes a back and forth thing, and then the meeting just goes boom, and everybody leaves frustrated. So I want to keep to that format. In about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll go in for a tour of the place. We'll come on out, and then Q&A away, and I'll do the best I can with that Q&A. So addressing as far as what we're close to being done with in the next couple of months and where we're going in that process, like the LUPAC, the VNC, ABC. So we're a long way, again, from the ability to sell alcohol. We had 2 prior neighborhood or community outreach meetings here in this parking lot, and the biggest concerns and objectives, like the big 3, like parking. Parking, as the best that we can do, is we're standing in it right here. I repaved the lot here. I hope to, and I'm continuing to work with the landlord to get rid of all this, take what you see here, this stone, take it to the alley. You can see for yourself, by my estimation, if this is cleared out like I'm hoping to, at a minimum 20 cars, we'd have an attendant during the daytime. We'd have an attendant to make sure we get as many cars in here as possible, which I know, particularly during the day, and especially a weekend day here in the summer, weekend particular, parking's a disaster here, and there's no doubt about that. But the best I can do for parking on site is this lot right here, which is, again, for on site is the best I can do. Adding on to that, and Tanya, can you raise your hand, Tanya? Tanya's part of Gjelina as well, and she's in charge of our employee bus program as far as buying bus passes. We've implemented bike corrals like at Gjelina. We'd like to also have bike corrals here and out on the sidewalk as well. Basically promoting as much public transportation or giving our employees and people the best opportunity not to use a car to help dent into the parking situation. I know. I wish I had like a silver bullet. Like here, this is. Hey, we got a parking problem, and here's my one perfect solution. I just don't have that. I do have a parking lot. I do work very hard to do my best as far as encouraging public transportation, paying bus passes, bike corrals. I'm also in communication with the Venice Skills Center. That's 1 block away here. So they have a parking lot that's probably about 60 spots. Where that goes, I'm going to work very hard to try to, especially again on the weekend. I don't think they use it all on the weekend, so there's 60 spots sitting there during the day, and I will scour the earth to find as much parking as I can around here, because I know it, particularly during the day and on the weekend, it is a disaster. On the flip side of this parking huge challenge that we have during the daytime, I will say, if any of you have been here at 3rd and Sunset in the evening as the sun goes down, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., midnight, there is here again on 3rd and on Sunset here. There's a lot of parking in the evening on the street. So the first question always is parking. Daytime, weekend, disaster. Doing the best I can. Evening, it really is, and it ties into one of the concerns. This is not one of the big 3: parking, noise, and liquor. But number 4 is like safety. I will say, and how it ties into at nighttime. Part of the reason that there's no cars on 3rd and out here is because it's not necessarily so safe. I would argue, or there's a point to make.
It's a commercial zone. That's why this one comes. Yeah, but you're not letting anyone dialogue with you.
The dialogue is later.
Otherwise, later.
Question and answer second. Third.
Thank you. So the safety aspect, I do think having a place in the evening, or if there are people that are actually out, so to speak, creates a safer environment as opposed to less safe. So that was safety with 4. The 1 was the parking. 2 is the liquor or the alcohol. Why do you need liquor? Or why do you want alcohol to be able to sell alcohol? If you've been to our restaurant, Gjelina or GTA, we have beer and wine there, and we are, as some of you may know, we're a very, very busy place that people are coming all the time. And I would bet $1 that people don't walk out of Gjelina and think, wow, that Pilsner I just drank was the best Pilsner, or that wine from Montenegro was so interesting. People come to Gjelina for the food and for the experience, and a lot of them come. And Gjelina, and I'll say, I've lived in Venice for 18 years, kind of sadly, and I'll admit, in Gjelina, especially at night, on a Friday and Saturday night, it's a lot of people that are not from Venice, and I know that, and I get that. And however, we tried our hardest to create the best food and the best environment that we can, and people come from far, and magazines write about us and all that stuff, and on one side, that's interesting and good, on the other side, it just brings a lot of people. I will say GTA next door, in terms of like a local place, I've had people come, there are people there, and Jason, raise your hand please. Jason's our GM at GTA. There are at least 40, 50, 60 Venice residents that walk the GTA to eat 8, 9, 10 times a week. And that is the biggest goal and the best compliment that we could have there and that we absolutely want here. That is the focus and the goal, have a highly interesting food and environment that people can walk to here. If it turns out to be more than that, I mean, I'll continue, and it has continued to be, turned out to be a lot more than that at Gjelina, where people have come from afar. But on that note, and I think like worth noting as well, if you look at Gjelina, yeah, it's popular and it's busy and it's great. No, it's a pain in the butt. No, it's great. What is documented in terms of individuals that have eaten there and drank there on our patio and in our dining room, what type of record or background does it have in terms of people coming out, urinating in the alley, being loud, throwing up, police being called, fights happening? Check with LA Pacific Division, I encourage you. There's, some bikes have been stolen. That's the biggest crimes that have gone on around Gjelina. I think with a 6-year track record of an incredibly busy institution that serves alcohol, and to have a track record like that, I think it does say something in terms of responsible ownership and the ability to sell alcohol. And that is for sure Q&A. I'll be here until 6 p.m. if people want, for sure, answering questions. Promise. I think that track record is an important aspect of this project as well. I will say, and it was the component that was misunderstood, and I take the responsibility for it. I would like the option for people to come like Gjelina to sit and drink. However, since we are, and you'll see this place and how much equipment's in here to prepare food on a retail level, I want somebody to be able to come here and also be able to buy a bottle of wine with that food and go. And when I had at the city, I've been very clear, a bottle of wine, yes. Liquor, absolutely not even close. Single can beer, no. Malt liquor, no. The picture that's going on at change.org with the wine shelf that has these big, huge bottles of wine that are probably $7, not even close. I am politely seeking permission for responsible adults to come into this establishment, buy some food, and buy a single bottle of wine, or 2 even, that'll probably cost $15 to $20, and take their food with them and take it home. That is the carry-out alcohol component of this establishment. So that the alcohol, the parking. So we are proposing, there's been some noise, there's been some further confusion on the project. Maybe they say, wow, they're putting in these little cement square pavers, it looks great, but their patio is huge. It's gonna be some big, huge beer garden. No, this is most definitely our parking lot. We'll have a couple dumpsters in the corner because the dumpsters and recycle also serve the building next door. But we will have, noise, patio. Where's our patio? Where's our patio? When we walk inside, you'll be able to see our patio. And the patio is basically, it's as wide as the building. It's 15 feet deep. It's all dirt and construction right now. And you'll see the beginnings of like 15-foot high posts for a solid masonry wall. We're getting quotes for a retractable roof. And again, we're doing the best we can to encompass that patio into a community-friendly place as much as a patio can be. I think when you walk through the place, when you walk outside in the backyard, and you see the size or the scale of it. That's one thing I really want to impress on you. If you read a sheet of paper that says, "Holy smoke, full liquor, 25 seats inside, 65 seats outside on a patio," I don't like the way that sounds at all. I don't like the way that sounds at all. But again, we'll go in about 5 or 10. We'll go in about 5 or 10 minutes to go out. But as far as like permitting, where we are, noise, parking, I've done the best I can here so far. And again, we're going to walk out the parking lot. We're going to walk into the front door from a customer perspective. We'll tour through it 5, 10, 15 minutes. We'll come out here for Q&A. But one last thing that I want to leave you with, like in reading this, 25 seats inside, 60 seats outside, and what it sounds like in full liquor. I absolutely don't want a bar. A bar is like the Brig or another room. I don't want a bar. We don't want a bar. We're not interested in a bar. We clearly, and we'll tell everyone, we're not going to have happy hour. We've never had happy hour. We're not going to sell single shots of alcohol. We do not want a bar. This place is built to prepare food and feed people, and that is and always will be the goal. Okay, so thank you very much for this part and component of the meeting. Please exit to the sidewalk, hang a right. Can somebody get that door open? And we'll just enter right in, like through the customer perspective, so to speak. Yes, sir.
How are you?
Oh, I'm recovering from a cold.
Oh no, me too.
Oh no.
Yes. We ought not cough on each other.
That's right.
By me mentioning that,
I don't disagree with you, but go back that way where Rose is now, all that over to traffic. Almost directly where my mother is. It's
Shelly or Angela, is Tanya here?
Tanya is here.
Tanya?
Right here.
Oh, hi, Tanya. Again, I presume and I expect and I hope that most of the questions will be for me, but Tanya, can also take some questions. Shelly, who's going to be in charge, like from an operations standpoint, of the bakery, and Gjelina as well. She may be able to answer some questions. Nicole, the pastry chef, who talked about the food program. Jason, raise your hand again, please. The GM over at GTA. Those people are also eligible or can answer if you have any specific questions that you think they may be best suited to answer. So the Q&A, I'm excited and happy, and I want to do it. If we get to a point, there's going to be a point of like interrupting. I don't know what we can do with the interrupters besides like I got to stop acknowledging them completely. So I'm going to politely ignore an interrupter, and there'll be a point, I think without a doubt, where you'll feel one thing and I'll feel something else, and we'll politely speak about it. And after a couple of moments, it may be, hey, we're going to politely agree to disagree, and I think that's totally okay, and that's what I think a community is all about. So, first question, yes, sir.
We all received. That was in the car.
That was not from me, sir. I imagine Alana. Alana. I think. To answer your question, yes, sir. Her name is Alana. She was actually very instrumental in putting this meeting together, which I'm very happy about.
Well, actually, can I speak on that?
We're just going to go Q&A. Q&A only. Q&A only. He's all right.
I'll yield. So you were concerned about the alcohol on parking too. I don't think anything has been like cleared up as it relates to the alcohol. I mean, other than he said we're not going to be selling liquor, we're not going to be selling bottles of beer. We're going to just be selling wine and stuff like that.
Is your question to me or to him? I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, to both of you. Let's
So
put it
what's
that
that
way.
question? Wait, what's the question?
So I understand that now. So you're not going to be selling alcohol other than beer.
No,
You're not going to be selling beer.
On premises, inside, the drink and eat inside, beer, wine, liquor, inside for consumption here. I'm playing charades. I mean, there's always been so much confusion. I'm going to have to play charades and do whatever I can to really pound the point home. To take it, hey, laddie, he's got this, to take somebody to have an option to buy any type of beverage that has alcohol in it, to take it out. The only alcohol that I want to have eligible to take away from the property is a single bottle of wine. That is what I am asking for, and
so when
does that answer your question, sir?
That answers my question.
It does not.
Okay. No, excuse me. Yes, sir.
My second question is, how are you going to deal with the homeless situation? How are you going to deal with the homeless situation, which we have heavily? I've been around the corner for 35 years, okay? So I've been through all the homeless things that have occurred around here. So are you looking, I mean, are you going to have some sort of security for the people that come here?
Yeah, I am not going to have security here. As far as when you say dealing with the homeless problem,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm equipped or qualified or able to deal with the homeless problem. I think going back to safety, I'm of the belief that if there are people that are, if there's a business that's open, so to speak, that people are actively coming in and out of, that creates, depending on what types of people they are, can in fact create a safer environment.
And my next question, since all the restaurants have opened up on Rose, parking has been like nothing around here. So your available parking will be in the back, right?
No, sir. You are standing.
Oh, this will be the parking lot.
Yes, sir. You are standing.
And that'll
in
be the patio in the back.
Directly behind the building, yes. And I'm still trying to get the landlord to get all this stuff out in the back here, to continue these cement squares, to take it all the way to the alley to, number one, get all this stuff out, or number one, get some parking and get all this stuff out.
So will the patrons that come here have access to like Gold's parking lot, whether it's this one or that one over there?
No.
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 Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
I think his hand was
Is it
up.
my turn?
His hand was up next.
Real quick, do you now possess an alcohol license, an ABC license
Absolutely.
for this place?
No, I do not. And
what? Okay, just part two. What do you have to do to get it?
Good question. I have to have more meetings like this. I have to go through LUPAC, VNC, a Los Angeles zoning. So a Los Angeles zoning administrator, they'll make a determination based on these very meetings and documentation, and application fees, etc., etc. When that ZA is going to write a determination, and he or she, well, in this case she'll say, okay, 320 Sunset, you can in fact, we are going to grant you what you'd like with these hours, with these restrictions, as long as you follow these guidelines. And then they're going to distribute a letter to everyone that ZA says, this is what we decided. And then there's 2 weeks of an appeal period where somebody could write and say, you know, Mr. or Miss ZA, I disagree with your decision, and I want to take this, I want to appeal it to the West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. And then 2 or 3 or 4 months will go by, and there'll be a meeting in West LA with 5 commissioners, and the community will have an opportunity to speak to those commissioners on their behalf to talk about why they disagree with that opinion. And then if the West LA Area Planning Commission says, yes, 320 Sunset, you can in fact serve alcohol, then I have to go to the ABC, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission in Inglewood, pay my applications fees. Well, they'll do a radius map that says, the city has given 320 Sunset permission to sell alcohol. Now he's coming to us to get the actual license itself. So everyone, we really want you to be aware, as I just hopefully painted that out clearly, I'm not sure how many steps we counted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to now permission for ABC, where ABC, they do a radius map, they put a sign on the building and says, hey, this guy's he wants to sell this, this, and that. And call this number if you hate that idea. So, and if everyone just says, wow, this selling alcohol here is the greatest idea ever, and we want it, we want it, we want it, a best case, fastest case scenario, we'd be able to sell alcohol here a year from today. Unlikely it would only be a year.
Does that include beer and wine?
Yeah, alcohol. Beer, yes. Any alcoholic beverage.
Ron, we'll have some
yes.
questions.
So, yes, sir. Well, Laddie, good enough? Or answer?
That answers my question.
Okay. I'm sorry. You're next for sure. Yep.
Thank you. I have questions.
Can you speak up, please?
The reason this meeting was called, I called it on behalf of the community. It wasn't called by Fran, it wasn't called by LUPAC, because the community were being left out of the loop. They were misinformed. This whole thing was misrepresented from the beginning. There was...
Question?
There,
Q&A period. Question?
I'm going to ask a question, but I'm clarifying why we're actually all here.
Okay.
Okay? And 3 letters, well, 2 letters, a letter was sent out for the first outreach meeting, 24th and 25th of January, which did not divulge the fact that they were applying for alcohol or beer and wine off-site. That was one huge issue, that LUPAC did not put that in the reports and actually denied knowing that they were going for off-site beer and wine. That is one of the reasons why we're back here today, because no one in the community was ever told that. And again, we were not told this time either. We're told now the letters that went out from the architect last week. Did anyone get these, by the way?
No.
You're all neighbours. No one got them in the neighbourhood, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Where were they sent to? Steve, you sent out a letter? Where is he? Can we see who that was actually sent to?
Excuse me?
You sent out a letter last week.
I sent the letter to Jim and Jim posted the letter.
You posted
Posted
it.
it where?
Where was it posted, Jim?
On cityhood.org.
Was posted on Cityhood. Was posted on Cityhood, but it's supposed to go to the neighbours within a 500-foot radius. How do you think the people got here today? No one was notified
Not
from
anyone,
you
Jim.
or from the architect.
You know what? There's no legal requirement to send
Oh
out.
my God.
There actually is.
And you were very much aware of it, and it was discussed at the LUPAC meeting, and everybody that was there was made aware of it. There is
Can we-
no
can we-
requirement for these meetings.
Okay, a further point to that. It was discussed at LUPAC on 16th of April, and the time was decided as 11 a.m. And Steve's first letter went somewhere, didn't go out apparently, was posted by Jim on Cityhood, which is supposed to be where we get our information from, which is run by Jim, saying an incorrect time, 12 noon.
Actually, the legal process, so we're all clear on that,
Yes.
is the West LA Zoning Area Planning Commission has an official meeting. Their information is held downtown, and anyone can go there. Cityhood is a service that I provide as a favor to the community. There is no legal requirement
Thank you for the
for it
favor.
to
You
post.
should be transparent.
If you
and
wanted,
should be honest
if
when
you
you're
want,
representing the
if you
community.
wanted to see anything legal, you go to the Venice Neighborhood Council website. That's venicenc.org. And if you were to read the minutes, which were supposed to have been posted from the meeting, you would see whatever the minutes reflected. But still, there is no requirement to reflect anything about sending out a letter.
So
you were there and you were very much aware of it, and your accusations are all very well founded. But the reality of it is there's very little legal requirement of any of this. Meeting is not a legal requirement. This is something that the applicant is doing out of his goodness of his heart. There is no legal requirement.
Hold on. You have an issue with LUPAC, which is
No,
fine.
it's
Hold on.
part of this whole
okay,
thing.
it's part of this whole thing.
Part of
Let's
the whole thing
let's
because the letter went out with the
Okay.
wrong time, and
Let's-
the letter even didn't
Okay.
go out to who
Let's
it was
say-
supposed to go out to. That's how the community gets left out of
And-
out of the loop. That's how nobody knew what really was going on in
But
this
at this
building.
time, question and answers are for the bakery,
Yeah, okay.
specifically.
Not a restaurant, so it's a bakery now.
I'm just referring to it as this establishment here. That's what the
So
Q&A
the
is for.
restaurant with alcohol license, with takeout
Frank, she
alcohol.
doesn't
Yes.
have a question.
No, I do have a question. I'm getting to it.
Yeah, what's okay?
Actually,
Jim,
I asked
Angela?
a question.
Okay.
I asked a question
What's-
of Steve. I asked
Okay.
a question of you.
What's okay?
Not getting the answers,
question,
but I'm
please.
asking.
Question.
The question is, you've actually said several times today, you're only going to have takeout wine.
I'm only going to have takeout wine.
Right.
This
As
is
far
what-
as takeout, it's going to
This
be
is
wine.
what I've asked permission for, and the ZA meeting that you were at with Maya, when I sat there, with Maya at the public hearing, it's exactly what I requested. I'm pretty
Takeout
sure.
wine.
Takeout wine.
So
And-
why on everything? Here's a question.
Okay.
Question. Why on everything have you got takeout beer and wine?
I think that
Why,
tag
why
that
on the CUB application takeout beer
Okay,
and wine?
that-
Why master land use takeout beer and wine?
okay. If it was on that application, tagged together, possibly, probably. If that's the case, my mistake, and we eliminate, and I'm not asking for beer again, very clearly. And at the ZA meeting that you were at with Maya, I specifically said to Maya that the case as well.
Actually,
The ability,
no, you said beer and
the
wine.
abu-
You said beer and wine.
the ability,
I was there. I remember.
the ability to buy a bottle of wine and take it away. That's what we're asking for. If it was on an application or mentioned beer and wine together collectively, I apologize, and that's definitely my mistake. Am I trying to mislead? It is such a small component
No,
of this
it's not.
operation.
It's a big component
It
because
is-
that just shows from the beginning you misled, you misrepresented.
Well-
You applied for beer and wine, and now you're turning around to us a year later, 6 months later, and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm only going to ask for
Okay.
this." So
Okay,
what
then-
are you
then-
going
then-
to
then
sell here?
I
Because
just-
when
I
you
just
get,
said- I
no,
just said-
but wait a minute.
No, the
because
answer-
your application says beer and
It
wine.
was clear. What I am going to sell is what I have told everybody. It's that is
Then you
that's
need to change your. You need
that-
to do your applications over.
then I will. Then I will. They will never. Nobody will ever buy beer and take it away from here ever. Guaranteed. 100%. Next question. Or actually, to be fair, you've been waiting a long.
So what I'd like to clarify is you've mentioned several times a beer, wine, and liquor.
Yes.
Initially, you told me when you spoke here initially, what I heard is that you were only going to be selling beer and wine, that you were not going to be doing shots, that you were not going to be making cosmopolitans, martinis. So when I hear you repeat beer, wine, and liquor,
Okay.
what does liquor mean?
Okay. You do remember me saying I am the guy that said no shots, no shots. And though we won't have cosmopolitans, I do want to have the ability to create craft cocktails, being defined as having spirits in them. So vodka or whiskey, and to be able to consume those here on site.
So it's basically a full-blown bar.
And full liquor
License.
full liquor license, and I think it's a Type 47. But for on-site consumption, yes.
So in essence, you're applying for a bakery that opens at 6 or 7 in the morning, serves breakfast food till like 11, then lunch till about 3, then a couple hours of you close or whatever, re-up yourself, and then from 6 to 1 in the morning, you want to serve food, beer, wine, and mixology drinks till 1 in the morning. Inside. So you want to be open from 6 in the morning, so you want to be open for 19 hours out of 24 hours a day.
Yes. Like an all-day establishment. Yes, that's
So
correct.
5 hours where you're closed.
24 minus 19, 5. Yes.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Phil, I'm going to let Phil ask the question, or do you want me to ask it? Or Phil?
I'm going to ask 3 questions,
Yes, sir.
okay, all at once. So, do you require a zoning change for what you want to do here?
Sorry.
And what will be the loading areas / restrictions? And do you envision that this establishment is going to have the same negative impact on this neighborhood that your other establishment has?
I think so. Question number 1, zoning wise, yeah, we're in the process right now to do this zoning change. Yes. Your question number 2, loading. We have a curb cut in the front there, like a driveway that we could use. I think ideally, like in a practical world, if this lot, like for a loading zone, if somebody wants to drop off produce or whatever, ideally to come into this lot, drop it off, and go. So those are our loading questions. And the impact, to your third and final question, I certainly hope that the establishment here has the same type of benefit there, both from an economic standpoint, both from a charitable give back to our elementary school standpoint. The bigger or the more that we do, so to speak, more will be more, but also in a very positive way as well. And the amount of people that are incredibly proud to be part of the establishment, the amount of neighbors that have come up to me, the emails that we've gotten, the significant community support that we have in that immediate area is something that I'm very, very proud of. And again, as far as giving back, and you're talking about impact like to the community, I have 3 boys, ages 5, 4, and 2. The kindergartner goes to Broadway Elementary School, and I want to say with every single day somebody walks into Gjelina and says, will you please give a gift certificate, $50 or $100 for an elementary school fundraiser of sorts. We certainly can't say yes to all of them, but we say yes to as many as we can. But something I can promise you, we'll have an inherent bias toward Broadway Elementary School and Westminster Elementary School forever, since my kids are going to be going there. So I am tremendously proud of the impact that business has there, and I am crossing my fingers that it'll have a similar impact here.
Oh, no.
Yes, sir.
Let's get back to parking for a
Yes, sir.
You're thinking 20, if you're lucky, 20, and the wind is right, 25 spaces here. Free with a purchase, or valet, or paid?
I think valet I don't love. I like attendant, like there's an attendant here, somebody pulls in and say, hey, park right here, leave your keys in it, so we can get as many as possible.
So the follow-up question is, with 65 seating for 65 people outside and 25 inside, on a good day we're talking about 40 to 50 cars. Where are the other 20 to 30 cars going to park?
If it's that many cars, they're going to park exactly where everybody else parks.
Right. Which is?
Up and down Sunset.
Taking
down spot. We can't park nowhere.
Like
ridiculous.
You're asking, during the day, it's a nightmare, and I agree. And everything.
I'm born and raised here, and I've seen the whole freaking thing change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of you guys.
I've been here for 20 years, and
well,
we have people.
It's not enough, man. Cause
we have people here as well.
Nobody lives here anymore. I mean, I know I'm talking. It's a big thing, but man, take it easy, man. Slow down, man. You're doing too much too freaking quick, and I didn't even want to come down here. I don't got time for this, but I live on 6th and Sunset, and all the Whole Foods people over there, and I know when this thing goes down, it's gonna, I don't know. It's it just seems too much. If you could,
I'm gonna do the best. I'm gonna do the best I can. And again, I don't know if you were here.
Your kids go to that school. My kids go to that school too. So. And we're not too far. I mean, you got a lot more dough than I do, but still.
Well, speaking of dough, if this place has dough, that dough.
No, I'm talking about dough right meat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This place has got a lot of dough, bread-wise, and some of this is, like I said, I'm going to have an inherent bias toward Westminster and Broadway. I always will. And yeah, I don't know if you were here at the first part of the meeting. I am trying to actively talk and negotiate with the Venice Skills Center. They're right there at 4th and Sunset, especially during the day on the weekend. That parking lot of like 50 spots sits empty. And that's something that I'm trying to do. And I said, I will scour, I'll work hard to do everything I can to try to provide parking. It's also, like, our interests are aligned in the sense, like, you don't want any more cars, but I have to make sure that, my employees can park here, and customers to buy the dough with their dough, they got to be able to come here. So I inherently have this, like, our interests are aligned. Like, I need to make it easier for, like, this lot. I got to put as many cars in this lot as possible. I need to call that Venice Skills Center 20 times until I get somebody. Like, those interests are, if you can believe it, like, somewhat aligned as well. So, yes.
I just want to clarify. You're saying the beer, wine, and liquor is only going to be inside. So if someone buys a cocktail, you're going to not let them go out into the patio.
I'm sorry. No, the cocktail is also for consumption of alcoholic beverages as well.
The patio, so they can drink outside.
Yes.
So you know that more liquor people drink than how they get.
Well, for 6 years, every single 360 days a year, I've had a patio, around the corner as well. And depending on if I'm feeding them shots, they're going to be louder. And there's just a certain amount of respect that you can put into an establishment, and it's going to come right back out in terms of the type of people that'll come and visit it. So, I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to do my best.
So the alcohol isn't just inside;
yeah,
it's outside.
I'm sorry, and see it is not, and I never in a million years meant to lead that it was just going to be. I did say it. Yeah, it's going to be inside.
You didn't say that. You said inside only.
I did. I meant on site. I apologize. On site. There's on site alcohol. There's off site beer, line, full liquor. It is. Okay. Cut me this much slack. It is a little bit confusing, especially trying to verbalize. But on site alcohol consumption. Off-site, if somebody could just buy a bottle of wine and take it away. If there was beer and wine before that, I apologize. I just want somebody to be able to come in here, buy some food, and buy a single bottle of wine and go away with it. Next question.
Back here, you got a question.
Yes.
So I have a couple. The first meeting we talked about, like, if you are able to get this space, are you still looking at an exit into the alley for the cars?
Probably.
Okay. I live right behind, so that's an issue.
Sure.
Number 2 is the patio. So you are looking at having people on the patio like at 6 a.m.
6 or 7.
Okay. And with staff parking, like incentives, like have you looked into, and I'm glad to hear about the skills center and all of that. But staff parking, to me, can be an issue. I worked at a restaurant with over 100 employees, and the employees that do, servers, whatever, did work, and we did the surveys for Santa Monica. A lot of employees drive.
Okay.
So my question is, and not only do they drive, but they get off shifts, stay in the area and want to drink, and park their cars and leave them overnight. So are you going to do like monetary incentives at all, or other type of incentives besides a bus pass that will be beneficial to them to leave their cars home?
I would give me.
I mean, Google posted what they do with theirs, and a lot of it was monthly money incentives. I don't know exactly what they all are, but I know there's more than. I wouldn't take a bus pass as not driving.
The bike corral bus. This is. I'm sorry, Tanya. That is her job. I've never heard of that before, and that's great. And I want to learn something every day. And if that's an option, and if we can copy something good from Google, we'll copy something good from Google. Yes.
And I have one more question after that.
Sure.
Is that I don't know what you said exactly, but I know it insinuated to me that there could possibly be people taking their food out to the parking lot to eat, like the GTA. Are you looking to have a spot out here for that as well, or that's something that you would be okay with?
This is the park. This is the parking lot to park cars. We'll have trash and recycle in that corner, and we'll probably have a storage unit or two as well in the lot. But we're rolling out tables for people out here. No.
Or just like the crates and the seating spot that's created at that's a no, or that's not an answer to my question, really.
If somebody grabs a milk crate and sits out here and eats on it.
I mean, I'm asking because I do live
Sure,
right there,
sure.
and it adds more noise.
I know.
I just want to ask
You
and
just
put
raise your
everything
hands
out.
like that. That's not an answer.
That's an evasive approach to the question, so it's better to answer it. Than
Sure.
to evade it.
With milk crates,
people are going to hang out eating.
Yeah, I mean, what we're getting from you is, by not answering the question, is that it's a possibility. So if it's definitely not a possibility, just please tell us that. And if it is a possibility, please tell us that.
That's extremely fair. And I want to be to my word. And if someone grabs a milk crate and sits out here, we'll talk operationally. And if there's issues and neighbors got problems with it, we'll tell people, no, you can't sit on this milk crate and eat your sandwich.
So you're saying to us that it will happen until
your neighbors
until we
are
complain.
surrounding you right now. They have a problem with it.
So is it yes or no? Milk crates or no milk crates?
We're taking that as a yes.
If that's the type of environment you want and you're going to have it, I just want to know that.
Sure.
So if that's
final answer, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Technically, so you understand, that would be part of an expansion of restaurant seating and dining.
Okay.
So you would have to come back before the city and request a new permit because the parking is being tied through an affidavit to the building. So it would be part of your site, not like GTA where it's not part of your site.
Got it.
If they do it here, it's part of your site and it's an expansion.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, he was waiting longer.
Sure.
Can I say
Are you guys taking organic and GMO precautions?
Organic and GMO precautions.
We do not use any GMO products in GTA or Gjelina. We buy over 80% of our produce from the Santa Monica Farmers Market. We use organic grains, alternative sugars. We do the best we can to make the food healthy for you to eat. That's what we do.
Love it. I'm glad we're all together, guys.
Thank you for asking that question. Thank you.
Yes.
How was the loopback meeting? My understanding was that the zoning had already been changed, and the answer you gave before was that we're in the process of changing. So what is the current zoning for this? Is it bakery? Is it restaurant?
The exact zone, Jim, do you have an exact?
The zoning is not being changed for the bakery or the retail operation. The request that he's making now that's currently pending is the alcohol permit and the patio. So don't get the two separate permits confused.
The patio permit, what is that?
That's for sit-down area out.
So he doesn't have that right now.
He has it. He's allowed to use it as a patio as part of his physical space, but he's not allowed to use it for sit-down dining.
Okay.
And in other words, the rule is that he has to calculate his premises based on what's known as something called service floor area. That service floor area, as part of a retail establishment, was just outdoor space on his approved plan. He doesn't have that approved for sit-down space. As soon as he converts it to sit-down space, then it becomes food service area, and that's a completely different use, and that's what he's currently trying to go through the process for.
And Jim, and all, I want to answer all the questions, but when you start to get to like the nitty-gritty technicalities of it, it is pretty confusing for me as well. And Jim is probably most qualified to answer that question. So thank you, Jim.
Okay, the original zoning was for either one of you then was manufacturing before this was changed?
The zoning is different than the use. So yeah, the zoning I believe is M1,
Yeah.
and the use was a legal office, not illegal, legal. Just so we're real clear, legally using it as an office space.
And that was changed.
That was changed a year ago
For a bakery.
for a bakery retail
Not a
and
restaurant.
takeout restaurant.
No, bakery
No.
retail.
The permit says takeout. A retail store is allowed to have. A retail store is allowed to have takeout food. It's part of a
Right, but
retail
not a
establishment. Not a
But it's not a
restaurant.
restaurant.
It's a retail
get a sign.
takeout food.
Okay.
Right, but
Okay.
there's
You guys.
no sign up for a
The
restaurant.
retail the technical question. Next question.
It's not, she has it. Oh, handwritten. Right, handwritten.
Next question, please. You're next. I'm
I've been
sorry.
waiting half an hour already to ask you a question and propose something, and you kind of ignore me. So,
Next question.
The patio hours, is it operation hours is 6 to 1, and the patio hours are what?
6 a.m. to 11. And when you say hours, this is what we're asking permission for, like a big difference. We're asking for permission for the patio, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, and you think you'll have your patrons out in the patio until what time of day? Like 11?
11-ish.
And that's Monday through Sunday?
Yes.
Okay. And not later than that? He already said 1 a.m., so I guess we should go back to what he already said. Well, operations, because they're inside and then there's the patio. And the patio is what I'm really interested in knowing
Sure.
the end time,
Sure.
because we are your neighbors right across the I just want to know if there's a way of going inside.
This gentleman next to
so following. So 3 major things are here. One is noise, the other one is parking, and third one is alcohol. That's what I see. Yeah.
Sure. The big 3.
Big mistake on your end, and why this is all went this way is because you didn't come to our door, knock, and say, "Hey guys, I'm moving in. I'm going to do this."
Okay.
Nobody ever happened. You know what I mean? That's why probably this is all happening. Parking, I know you can't do nothing because it's infrastructure and how they plan around, it's crappy. So as much as everybody wants to blame you for that, I can't really. Yeah? But what I can suggest is if you're willing to take this community where we can really create a body that's going to communicate with you all these issues, because they will come. In a sense of noise, in a sense of parking, in a sense of alcohol, and anything else.
Of course.
So, we definitely want you here. You came. You have a good idea. I appreciate what's happening. I'm very glad it's not a full-blown restaurant, but it's what kind of, I think it fits here. I'm not happy about the full liquor license. I think that's a little too fast.
Okay.
Honestly. As I said, parking you can't do much. But I would like this community to organize in a body that's going to have your phone number and is going to call you when shit hits the fan here.
Sure.
And everything else, kind of, you know, we can beat you, you can beat back. And
Sure.
It doesn't make sense. You want to make a business, but we want to keep our community here. You understand? We've been here far longer than you. And we respect this. We love this. That's why we're here. And we don't want to blow it up.
Yeah.
And I know you want to come and bring something good, and you have a good ideas, and I appreciate your school support. That's all great. We all do that too. That's part of why we are here.
Sure.
And not in Santa Monica or anywhere else.
Sure.
The body that's going to have your phone number is going to communicate with you when there's issues.
Sure.
We can create a protocol when that happens.
Sure.
So that you don't get a phone calls when you don't want one.
I think you said it very well in the sense of you can have all these meetings and all these
But
regulations.
we need your commitment.
Right. But when the
as a real neighbor.
You said, when the SHIT hits the fan, what's going to happen and what kind of results are you going to get? I could speak to the future and tell you the commitment that I'll have, but I think just as importantly, or more importantly, what kind of history do I have in terms of creating an establishment in Venice where a lot of people come, eat and drink alcohol on a patio, and it goes back to how many times have the police been called and what type of track record do I have there? I think a 6-year track record of a very busy place.
I go to your other restaurant, I appreciate it, service, food, everything, yeah?
And
I don't live there, so I don't know how it affects people who really, would have issues with you.
Okay.
But again, you're here now, and down the line we want to help you really make this a successful business that works for us too. And it doesn't put us in a comfort where, okay, the dude is making money on our account.
Sure, I get it.
You know?
I get it. Sure.
It did affect me, because at least 5 days during all your build-up I had to close my shop and leave. You know, for the whole afternoon or the whole day, because I just couldn't deal with this.
Okay, I mean, that's part of construction.
And so,
I'm sorry.
the body is going to communicate with you. And you can communicate with us, absolutely.
And I will always
because
be here.
you will need that, trust me.
I will always be here. Always. Next question.
You're saying there's going to be an exit to the alley. You know, if our building there, that's the only way in and out for us in that alley. And often it's blocked by trash trucks and everything. So now we're going to have to deal with 20, 30 cars coming up and down the alley.
Again,
we're stuck. How are we going to get out? When there's cars coming up and down that alley all the time.
If the landlord removes his stuff, which I'm hoping he will, and then I pave it to the back, and then I want to use the alley like an alley. And that's so I want to do. That's the best way I can communicate to you. I want to, and again, it's not a given that he's going to move his stuff. I hope he does, and I'm trying to get him to. But I want to be able to use the alley, and
that'll be open the whole time, 6 to 1 a.m. That exit will be open the whole time. So cars will be driving up down there, 1 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, it's already dangerous, like trying to pull out of your alley without being afraid of getting hit by someone. Let alone if I'm right here trying to.
Okay.
Somebody.
I guess the point.
It's open. It will be open the whole time, 6 to 1.
Unlikely, especially at nighttime. But having that open, we'll just be able to increase the ability of me parking more cars in this lot, which has been a primary community concern. How many cars can you get in this lot?
But won't you be lessening the amount of cars in this lot if you're going to have people eating out here? That's going to take away from the parking space.
Well, sitting down on milk crates in the corner behind a car, something different.
But is that all it's going to be, sitting out on milk crates, really?
Well, it might be, but again, we're going to have an attendant, and during the day especially, we're going to jam, and it's in my best interest, and our best interest, that I jam as many cars into this lot as possible, off-street parking. I mean, it's in my best interest. Yes.
The only problem with the trucks having access to this thing is they can't make a right or a left.
Yeah, they can't make that turn.
Yeah,
so there won't be trucks in your alley.
Then where will the trucks be?
In this parking lot or in front of the building. Next question.
Now, I wonder if it's city parking.
There's a curb cut and there's a lot. I mean, my curb cut in front of the building, I'll use for deliveries. On this lot, I'll use the best I can for my deliveries.
And this lady was nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I think this woman in the gray sweatshirt.
We answered her question.
Okay. Patio.
Yes, ma'am.
Seating capacity. If the patio is approved, what's the seating capacity for the patio? What is the seating capacity for the patio if it's approved?
How many seats can you get out? How many seats can you get on the back patio? 65.
65. Okay. Is there any plan for noise mitigation on the patio?
Yes. If you're in the back, if you saw the back patio, the posts are constructed. They're 15-foot high posts. What exactly the wall is going to be made of? Solid masonry, wood. I'm not sure yet. We'll also have a retractable roof as well.
And then the property at the corner of Hampton and Sunset, where it's currently Gold's parking.
Yes.
That's been approved for building, as I understand.
Okay.
We're obviously losing more parking spaces in the area. I understand that parking is a problem, one of the big problems that you faced. I understand that you're trying to get this opened up so that you can use more parking spaces. I recognize that there's nothing that you can do about parking. You have one spot in the front for delivery, correct? And then possibly this area for delivery when... Sir, excuse me, could you please be respectful of... I know, but please be respectful of the other people who are here. It's not necessary to speak with someone that way.
Okay. All right,
It's really not necessary to treat someone like that. I lost my train of thought, so I'll step aside and let the next person with the question. I'll step aside and let the next person ask the question.
Yes, ma'am. Question.
Well, I'd like to introduce myself.
Yes.
I have a studio at the corner of 4th and Sunset.
Uh-huh.
I've been there 40 years.
Okay.
My name's Pamela.
Hi, Pamela. Fran.
Semi. I've eaten at Gjelina. I like it.
I've been in your warehouse 20 times.
Word on the street on Abbot Kinney is the other places don't like you. I've heard it's like inside the restaurant, great. Outside the restaurant, bad vibes. So it's like I I came in late to the meeting.
Uh-huh.
It's like not the details, but from the highest point of view. Why do you want to be here? What do you want from us? What are you going to bring? What are you going to contribute to the neighborhood besides take away and raise our rents?
You're good. I think you may have
Are
came
you
a little bit
thinking
late.
about it?
It's
Do you know your responsibility? Are you a good guy or are you a bad guy? She just said to me, you're for or against this. I said, I'm not for and I'm not against it.
Right.
What are we doing?
all right. Well, let me. Good guy, bad guy. I'm going to be slightly repetitive. I've lived in Venice for 18 years. I lived on Vernon for 10 of them. I live at 7th and San Juan now, across from the Oakwood Rec Center. I have 3 boys, age 5 and under. They go to Broadway Elementary School. As far as like some of the dough or make dough, I'm going to have an inherent bias toward Broadway and Westminster both in terms of helping those schools any way I can. I have a GVP, a Gjelina volunteer program that I try to almost force my employees to be part of, and also bring members of the community to join that GVP as well. I'm open to more ideas as far as helping. I love Venice. There's nobody that's standing in this parking lot that loves Venice more than I do. I love your art studio. I love this block. And that's why I wanted to come here in a big way. This place is built to serve food, and I love it, and I want to serve food to as many people that appreciate the food, and how hard that we work to create interesting and special food in a very interesting and special environment. A quick aside, like this, we're standing on 2 6,000 square foot lots. So here's 6,000, that's 6,000. A developer, which I am not, comes in 12,000 juicy feet. Let me go 35 feet high. Let me build high and wide. And that, I'm not necessarily anti-development, but I've seen enough white big square buildings around here. It kind of bums me out. I say, thankfully, I have the lease for this for 20 years. That building will always be here while I'm around. It'll be 14 feet high. This tree will be here. I'll hire an arborist to make sure I water and feed it properly. And this lot hopefully will. It'll be a beautiful patio area that people are standing in. It's the aesthetic of it, the feel of it is a huge deal to me, to my bone and to my core.
When are you opening?
We are opening half. I got sand in my mouth. It feels like I got half a pound of half the Pacific Ocean or beach. We will. I've said this a few times. Well, 1 month, especially when you're talking with construction. June if we're lucky. July. So when's the earliest we can be selling alcohol? It's not going to happen this year, guaranteed. Like selling alcohol part of it, maybe in 1 year from today, maybe.
Well, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to meet with the Venice Art Block, which is a group of 60 to 70 to 80 to 100 artists that are in this neighborhood in 90291.
They could use your support.
And we'd like to see what the opportunity is here, because like I said, when I moved in it was 15 cents a foot. I had 1,000 square feet for $150. I don't pay that anymore.
Sure.
It's like, I think everybody here is like, we're feeling endangered. And it's like, it's going to take really thinking and looking outside the block and outside the box for us to establish Venice as a creative community, and we would love to support you. I would love to have this be the best thing that ever happened. I was so ecstatic when I heard you were opening up a little bakery down the street. It was like, way cool. So just wanted to meet you and see what you look like and be able to say hello and talk to you.
I appreciate that. I'm Fran. I'm Gjelina's son. That's where the name comes from, Gjelina. And as far as like artists, I will say, I'm struggling to become a struggling artist. But what I do in terms of supporting artists, I really believe, and you may or may not, or some people believe, people that bake or create food or create, she is an artist.
Yeah.
Travis.
It's inside. No,
Travis, our chef, who's completely responsible for the food program at Gjelina GTA. He lives on Vernon as well. He's Venice to the bone, food to the bone. He is an artist like yourself. And if you want to ask a couple of artists, are they willing to support some artists? And the word support, sometimes like the code word almost, is like money. So, which is fine. I'm like that guy that's struggling to support. Like, I'm supporting artists, you're an artist, I'm a conduit to help that. Do I want that? Absolutely yes. All right. Thank you. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
This may have just been a mistake, but just now you said, and the patio here. But this is supposed to be the parking lot.
I'm going to jam as many cars into this lot that we're standing on as possible. It's in my best interest, it's in the business's best interest, it's in the community's best interest that I jam as many cars into this lot as possible.
People are going to be eating out here, you said.
If they sit on a milk crate, but I will again still jam if we can fit a car and they're sitting on a milk crate where we can put a car, they'll move. We want to jam this with cars.
My question, and I don't know this, does the Coastal Commission get involved in this when you're building a restaurant and have all the parking so close to the beach and they want to do access to the beach and have emergency vehicles? How does that work?
I think Jim is maybe
I don't believe that there's a coastal development permit required for this project.
Because it's farther away from the beach, or how does that
No,
work?
it has nothing to do with the distance. It has to do with the change of intensity of use. So there's very specific wording for how the code reads, and this is one of those cases where it doesn't read that way. In other words, because there is physically an existing building, and the new use of the building, the way the rules read, is being considered to be less than or equal to that which was previously permitted. And this isn't me. I'm just telling you how the rules work. This is how it works. And this is a permit that was issued a year ago.
Yeah, but the
So it's not a Q&A. It's not the permit.
Okay, excuse me.
You'd have to go to Building and Safety and ask for the permit that was issued a year ago to claim that it was issued in error, and get the city, and there's a department called the neighborhood case management or case management something or other. A man by the name of Lincoln Lee is the #1 man in charge of that department. You would have to file a request with him to claim that the permit that was issued a year ago was issued in error. He would have to then make the ruling that it was issued in error, and then there would have to be a new planning case that then required there to be a coastal development permit for the change of use. So the Coastal Commission won't have anything to do with it because they have no case at this point. I don't know if I'm making myself clear,
So
but
what
the
department
process,
is Lincoln Lee in?
it's case management.
At the building
and safety case management. And they have case management staff people that when you file the request, and it's a fairly inexpensive thing to do, they will then start the process rolling, and you can go down that avenue if that's a direction you want to pursue. And they'll look at it and they'll tell you, everything they know.
A question further to that, I think Roxanne, you might like to know about, is the CDP was done on the basis of it being a bakery, and therefore the intensity of use wasn't more than 10%. And since that CDP was issued, and the permit was issued on a bakery, it's now changed in use to a full-blown restaurant. And so it wasn't a mistake by the city, it was actually a way of getting under the radar, circumventing the law, and now it's a full-blown restaurant, and the use is way over 10% in excess.
So it seems we have to go through them.
Well,
I mean, I do love
Gjelina.
Gjelina.
No, it wasn't the city's mistake. The CEX? Okay.
Coastal exemption.
The coastal exemption was based on a retail bakery, not on a restaurant.
It's a very technical, what she's saying has a lot of merit.
It's true.
It's a very, very technical, fine line of how the process works. And what you're seeing is the effect of one individual technically doing the correct thing at two different points in time, but they happen to overlap with each other. In other words, if it had had its change of use and he hadn't come in for this other permit for 5 years from now, you would have already forgotten that it was converted to a bakery. And we hear it all the time in the neighborhood council. We hear about projects getting changes of use, and then all of a sudden something happens, or somebody goes to build a condominium, or they start with a duplex, then they claim it's a condominium, and then they turn it into a small lot subdivision. It's again, these are loopholes, and we're working to try and figure out ways around them, but it's the way the process works. Case management's the place to go.
Okay. I'm not done. I just have one more question, and then you can be up here. As far as I know, we were all happy with a bakery retail takeout. It's the idea of people staying and drinking.
Real quick, I'm going to interrupt you, I promise. So that first idea is what we are approved for. That second part that you're uncertain about, that's why we're here. That's not approved, and this is the beginning of that process. That's why I had to jump in, because.
Okay. So it's good that we're here for that.
And you're here at the beginning of that process.
Right.
But what was your intention in the beginning?
And the noise mitigation is a big concern of mine, because I think it was about, I used to always take everybody from out of town to your restaurant. I went there, Gjelina's, on a Saturday at 5:30, because that's when you can get in. So 5:30 in the afternoon, like 7 young girls were here with an older guy, and all they were doing was ordering wine. The noise level was out of this world. And when you say you're going to have the 15 feet and it's going to be mortar or wood, it sounds to me like the noise is going to bounce off that. Maybe padded walls. I don't know. I mean, do you want to clarify?
A lot of greenery or specifics.
Oh,
but it's, again, that's one of those things, though, that it's very much in my best interest to make sure of. I don't, just from a neighbor, I don't want to make my neighbors mad. And if I do make my neighbors mad, I'm a jerk of a neighbor, but those neighbors are calling and causing problems for my business. So it's a twofold problem for me. I'm being a bad person, and I'm being a bad businessman if I don't think a lot, spend a lot of time, energy, and money to do the best I can for sound mitigation.
I think you covered most of my question. I know you may be repeating, but just clearly define for me where you are in the process. Are you just okay for the bakery right now, and that's it, or are you okay for other things? Because I know that it's greater than 10%, the bakery from what was here previously. I've lived in this community my whole life, and what comes from a restaurant as far as usage is not what was happening here before. So where exactly are you? And you may have answered, but answer again for me, please.
I am a year away from being able to have any kind of alcohol at all, at least 1 year away.
Okay, but what are you clear for right now?
Selling people, bakery, retail, cafe, so we can cater, people can buy food to go, and people can buy packaged food as well.
Possibly a year away too, or is that sooner for serving?
I think that'll probably be sooner.
And like when possibly?
What's that?
Is that in June or July when you open possibly, you're saying, for serving on the patio?
Well, so patio dining is not currently approved.
That's right.
So let's just be real clear. He has a permit that currently exists for retail and bakery. And even with the case management thing, if you went in to appeal that today, he hasn't violated the terms of that condition because it's a retail bakery. The permit that causes that to now become something more questionable is whether or not there's a restaurant here, where there becomes a much greater intensification of use. So if the patio at this point is just used strictly as an open air space, and there's no tables there, there's no crates, there's no nothing, then he's got that on this current permit. That he's allowed to have, is allowed to have a patio. It's not defined as anything. It just showed his 2 trees on his drawings.
And how do we protest the restaurant and the liquor
That's
license?
this permit that you're hearing about today. So does that answer your question?
Well, because so what he was saying is that if his license does go through for alcohol, it would probably be a year till that happened. My question is,
it's 2 parts.
If the patio part goes through, when is that likely to start? How soon?
I believe, Jim, seating could be different with alcohol, because alcohol I have to go to ABC to actually get liquor. So that could be this year.
The food service is through the city of LA. That's part of his current request to have the patio be seating space. To have dining space where people can sit, that's part of this current permit. That's completely through the city. The second permit that he has to get, if that is approved, is then through the ABC, which is a state department. That's the part that still takes a year to get.
And in terms of the patio, does that count towards parking calculation, and does it count towards what the Coastal Commission will consider in terms of whether they want to do a permit also?
You want me to answer? So the parking calculation that exists for the bakery and for the retail space was based on strictly the physical building, which had grandfather credits. The dining space, the sit-down food service space, is being tied to the use of this property. This property is not tied to the bakery use or the retail use. This property is strictly tied, at this point in time in his permit, The way that the Land Use and Planning Committee conditioned it, the conditions for this property are that they are tied to as long as there is food service for sit-down dining next door. Next door being this building. These are two separately owned pieces of land. I mean, they're owned by the same person, they're under the same leaseholder. He's leased both of them. But the parking requirements for the restaurant,
the patio
all food service.
Dining was not calculated.
All food service on site was calculated using this lot.
This lot, the empty lot.
The empty lot. The way that the LUPAC condition reads, the on-site food service, meaning there's a kitchen here for a restaurant. The kitchen and the dining space, what's called service floor area, the parking is being provided here.
Is that based on the 20 seats at the counter?
Who is
or
the parking for?
Which parking now are we talking
You're
about?
saying this parking right here
Yes.
is for who? The patrons? The patrons.
I don't want to mislead you because I know it'll come back to me and it's being recorded. But parking when it's required, parking when it's required for a restaurant says that it's required parking. How it's physically used, whether it's an employee who parks there or a plumber or a next door neighbor or a patron of the restaurant, the city has no control over that.
No,
I believe that
wasn't the question.
No, it wasn't. But seeing as we're there, I believe they owe a certain amount of parking for the patrons, for the space, let's say, and I believe they owe a certain amount of parking for the actual staff. And I believe there's also going to be in the vicinity of 20 to 30 staff on at any given time. So how are you going to provide for up to 120 patrons parking?
Plus takeout.
Plus the takeout, exactly. And 20 to 30 staff at any time in what you would, at a stretch, get 20 cars in here.
So there's
How is that enough?
two general documents. One is the Los Angeles Municipal Code, and that has something that's called the Venice Specific Plan Ordinance, which is an overriding document. The second one is the city-approved coastal development, certified coastal land use plan. Those two documents, the one from the state, the one that's the state certified and the one that the city has in place, both talk about parking. In Venice, which is the specific plan and the land use plan, parking is calculated for a restaurant based on something that is very clearly defined as service floor area.
Right.
It does not talk
Including
about
the patio.
It does not talk about kitchen. It does not talk about the person who's standing there as the hostess.
But question,
It does-
including the patio.
Let me finish.
Question.
That's
Service floor.
the only question, Jen.
Service floor
Patio
area.
included.
Understand what service floor area is. I'm trying to give you the explanation. Service floor area is that space which is very clearly defined as the dining space.
Right, the patio
Okay.
outside. You're going to have
Whether it's
tables and
inside
chairs.
or
Well, I'm
outside.
asking you, yes or no, the patio. You talk in circles, yes or no, the
because
patio.
the patio is a geographic location. If he has an area in that geographic location, which is called a busser's table, a place where they put dishes, that area is no longer calculated. It's not part of the service floor area. If he has a handicap path, that's a state requirement. It's not part of the service floor area. Service floor area is a defined definition.
I'm going to ask my question again.
Okay.
Please answer it. If you can't answer it, maybe Fran can answer it. Have you calculated the patio area where you are going to be seating people and feeding people as part of your parking calculation?
So
No circles.
The parking
Yes or no?
calculation is one parking space for every 50 square feet of service floor area.
Right.
Where people are defined as where people are dining.
Did you
service
permit for the patio?
That's right.
Assuming you get the
But
approval, of course, that's what you assume in an
We are
application.
here so that he gets his restaurant through. Part of that is the external dining area on the patio. Part of that requirement is a certain amount of parking that will be required because of that. That's an extra 1,000 square feet. If it's one for every 50, that, in my calculation, it's 20 spaces. That's notwithstanding what he already owes on parking inside.
Okay.
Is that
but
so? Is that included? Yes or no?
The calculation is a little bit more complicated than that. He has an existing building, which has existing credits, grandfathered rights.
But is that for the current use or for the new use? Because
And
That's for the current. That's for, as an office.
The office gave him credits of 1 parking space for every 250 square feet. The bakery use is a different, much lower requirement. It's 3 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. So he was credited, there's no restaurant yet, he was credited with a whole group of parking spaces based on the less intense use of the bakery over the office use.
Right.
The retail.
But he has intensified the use
retail
by 20-fold.
Okay.
Not by 10%.
He hasn't done it yet, but the
Well, what's that fitted out? It's not fitted out as a bakery, it's fitted as a restaurant. He's applied for a restaurant.
I can only answer you.
Well, you haven't answered it yet.
Well, okay.
Please.
Okay,
yes
so
or no?
it was all written up.
This is.
Can you answer it, Fran? Is the patio service floor area included in the parking requirement calculation in your application?
In this application, yes, it has to be.
Well, but is it now? I've seen parking calculations. It doesn't look like it's included.
Okay, it has to be. And if it's not, the person reading that application will say, oh, it's not, so then it's not allowed and not permitted.
How about the person that wrote the application?
For 65 people.
How about the person
And
that wrote the
related
application,
parking requirements.
who signed it as under the threat of perjury? How about that person actually stating what the real facts are? Every single application says something different. And you signed them.
There's two different applications. One for the first half, which we've completed. The second one and the second part is the one that we're in the beginning
that's
process
what we're
right
asking you about.
Okay, this second part.
And is that in the calculation?
The patio, it has to be.
Is it in it? Is it in the application?
Yes.
You have factored that in?
Yes.
If it isn't, you'll make sure it gets there.
Actually, it's a condition of the Land Use and Planning Committee.
There isn't a motion yet.
It's based on square feet.
And does
I wanna
the
make-
service area go towards whether or not there's a coastal development permit, the service floor area on the patio? Because there is an expansion, beyond these 4 walls into the patio, and would that cause a requirement for the coastal?
You want to answer?
Yeah.
No, I'm planning for the
I don't know what the question was.
Somebody asked a minute ago about whether a coastal development permit was going to be applied for, and in this second case of the project, I see a coastal development permit application, but I think Jim said there wasn't one required. So for one, why is there an application in there? And for two, wouldn't the service area of the patio count towards some kind of an expansion beyond the 4 walls of the building?
Well, this was a 2-phase project. The first project that's under construction right now was given a coastal exemption because it was a lesser intensification of use from the office use. So don't film me, please. Can you turn that off? I don't want to be filmed. Thank you.
I'll just
She's in my face. I don't really like it. Anyway, so the bottom line is, she can hear what I'm saying. So the bottom line is the project that's under construction was permitted per the planning department's approval and is now under construction. The second project, which is what's being contested now, as a coastal development permit was applied for to do a restaurant. The calculation for that service floor area, the patio area is included, as well as the indoor dining. So that's all part of this coastal development permit application.
So there is going to be a coastal development permit.
It's part of the new project.
Well, they're both. It seems to me like they're being handled like 2 different projects, but it's really one and the same. Is that correct? It's all one project, but you've got one permit for the bakery, right? You got a permit for the bakery, you got an exemption for the bakery, but that's only for the bakery. So it seems the community, I'm speaking for myself, I don't have a problem with a bakery as long as there's no retail and there's no change of use. The problem that a lot of the community seems to have is the change of use, because I just pulled up and I was looking for parking. There's no parking right now. So imagine what's going to happen. This is going to be Abbot Kinney all over again. And no disrespect to what what you do, but it's going to cause a big problem with parking in this area. Getting through, there was just a trash truck coming through here right now, and the trash truck had to pull over to let me go by. This is really not an adequate space for the intensity of use. The increase in the intensity of use it's just not adequate. It sounds like a lovely project. It's just in the wrong place. Okay, it doesn't belong here. I'm sorry to say that. That's my opinion.
And I respect your opinion.
Yes.
Absolutely respect your opinion.
And I think that, this whole thing, you got a VSO, he got to sign off on this, right? That
As a bakery.
Yeah, that you got to sign off as a bakery. So the use has not been changed yet. It has not been authorized. And so I am definitely not in agreement. I live on the street, and we've had an influx of a lot more business here. We don't need more, and you have a bakery, beautiful. We would love to have you have a bakery. Take your bread out. Retail, I don't think it's a good idea here either, because we don't have enough parking. Parking's the issue.
Understood, and I respect it. Yes. A question.
Yeah.
Or question or community input.
I just want to give you input. I live like a block from here, and I walk in this neighborhood every night. And right now at night, a lot of people say there's no parking. There's a million places on 3rd every night.
At night.
Yeah.
At night. I said that. I'm sorry. I wanted to jump in because that's such a controversial statement. At night, on Sunset and on 3rd, only at night. Yes, there's a lot of spaces. Sorry, I had to jump in.
I know maybe not everyone agrees with it, but I live in the neighborhood. I walk here every night, and right now this is a kind of scary street to walk on at 10 at night. And so I think having this in the neighborhood and doing it in this area zone, commercial, industrial, is great. I mean, where else? I kind of asked the question, where else would you put it? I mean, I bought a property right next to a commercial zoned area, and I knew that when I bought it. And I think that's what I like about this neighborhood. Is there's all this stuff going on.
Thank you for the input. Thank you for the input. Question or answer?
For valet.
Valet, like taking the car and parking it somewhere in the neighborhood?
Have a
No.
valet.
Somebody standing here in the middle, and a car pulls up, says, "Hey, you park here. Leave your keys in it. Park here."
There's not going to be anybody valeting cars.
I certainly would not want to do that. Parking.
There's valet at Gjelina, right?
Never.
There's no
Never. And with that being said, and I think that's a great question or a great point, who does valet parking benefit? The business or the neighbor? Gjelina is the only restaurant on Abbot Kinney that does not have valet. And where do you think the valet park the cars? I'm a high percentage of the time in the neighborhood. And the reason a business would want valet is because they want to make it easier for people to drive to their business. I don't necessarily want to make it easier for people to drive. But again, about this parking lot and where a car is going to go, and your question, valet, an attendant trying to get and jamming as many cars in here in this lot is the goal. Yes.
In terms of the noise for the adjacent residents, after the patio is closed, will you be shutting the doors and windows on this side so any music or noise after hours won't carry?
I'm gonna say yes, of course, and that kind of goes back to, there was a gentleman here who was an artist next door. He said, we can have all these ideas and these rules and whatever, but when you're open or whatever, the SHIT is going to hit the fan, and are you going to be, and I'm going to come looking for you, and I want your number, and are you going to be responsible? And again, it's twofold. It's in my best interest to be a good neighbor, number one, because I want to be a good neighbor, and number two, if I'm a jerk and not a good neighbor, and I piss the neighbors off, they're going to make my life miserable and make my business miserable. So it's
What I've seen done at other places where it's this
Nice.
close is the owners work with the neighbors to maybe give them thicker glass on their windows, or thicker curtains, or I don't know, something like that? Are you willing to?
For these immediate two buildings, I'm open to sitting down and talking about here for a coffee, having a coffee and a biscuit and talking about that. I'm open to that, absolutely. Question?
So so the first meeting I never got a letter about, and I live right back there, and then this meeting right here that I found out about, as well as the community one, was from the flyer that she put. And you say you want to work with the community, and I can see that in, like with the parking over at Venice Skill Center and such. Any one of your people, like, we're obviously the people that care and that are here. Can you guys take our information? I know you legally don't have to, but take our information and notify us, because I want to know, and I don't want to have to rely on someone else. Like, I want to rely on you guys.
Of course, and it's the most immediate. Like I call it, the blue building and the red building. Those are the two most impactful. And
yeah, but okay, I'm just like, when you say it goes to the owners, like my owner was selling. There was no way she was going to give me information when she wants her property to sell. And I don't even know if my new owner knows about you guys coming in. So I want the information. I don't care about the owner.
You have a direct line to Tanya, and yes.
But notices are also supposed to go to tenants in properties. That's the law, not just the owners.
Okay.
None of the tenants got notified. So whether they own or not is irrelevant.
Okay.
I got notified. I live right over here.
Well, good.
Okay.
One out of 200.
Great.
Good. That's a good strike rate.
Next question, or any questions? That might be a wrap. I feel like I got a bunch of sand in my mouth.
One question.
Sure, one question.
It's about parking. You're saying you're providing this parking. There's apparently 20 spaces. You don't have a lease for this, though.
I do.
You don't have a lease for this.
I do.
You do have a lease, or you have a lease for that building?
I do.
You have a lease for that building and a lease for this too?
The first question you asked, do I have a lease for this building? I said yes.
No,
I have a lease.
These are
I have a lease.
separate,
I have a lease for this
320,
property, and 318 or 316.
318.
Yes.
You have a lease for 320.
I have a lease for this.
And you have a
property
separate.
that we're,
Just answer me.
in one lease. In one lease agreement, I have for both these properties.
Right, but this property is actually on the addendum for the lease, item 54, where the lessee has non-exclusive access to the lot, to parking on the neighbouring lot.
Correct.
I'll repeat that. Lessee has non-exclusive access to parking on the neighbouring lot.
Lessee has non-exclusive access to this lot, which means the landlord and the owner can keep that stuff there so he sees fit, and then my next door neighbors, those are their cans, and we don't want to put those cans behind the building next door because garbage trucks would have to go in the alley to pick up those cans. So to make sure that those garbage cans are not behind the building next door, or those garbage cans aren't behind this building, we put them here to share. So I have to allow access for my landlord to keep his stuff, which I'm still hoping to get rid of his stuff, and those recycled.
What if the landlord wants to gather more stuff out here, and suddenly you only have room for 10 things to park? What if this doesn't go that way? What if this comes this way, and you only have half a lot?
And it will
It's
not.
possible.
And it will not.
Because it's non-exclusive.
It's
possible.
not possible, and part of the reason that I repaved this lot and make sure that the lot that we have, and this is the lot, and we're going to be able to park cars here. We're going to jam them in as many as possible.
And you said you're hoping that you can provide access out the back. You said that.
Hoping.
Right, so that means car lights and car noise and truck noise is going to go out into neighbouring properties.
Yeah, the semi-trucks will be wheeling all the way in the back of the alley.
No, we see enough of them at the front.
Okay.
But
Next,
your
any
little
other
delivery
any other questions?
Oh,
Is that it,
yes,
everybody?
On the
Is that,
plans.
we'll go on the side for everyone
no,
else.
I just want to say, on the plans.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone?
Thank
you.
Oh, I just wanted to let you know that for community meetings like this, it is standard operating procedure, and I want to let Jim know too. It's standard operating procedure for LUPIC to work with the applicants to send out a notice to the surrounding community. It's not a required law or anything like that, but it's definitely the normal thing to do. So FYI for the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You had a question, ma'am?
One last question. I heard you mention the two buildings directly behind here, but I live just across the street, so I would want to hope that I would receive just as much notice. And I've been here over 50 years.
Tanya.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Listen, I've got.
Tanya, I'm sorry. It's a priority to have this woman's information. That anything we do here, she gets contacted, either phone, mail, email, or whatever it is. But complete priority.
Okay. Never cared about the neighbours before now, did you?
Everyone, thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. And I think there'll be a LUPAC meeting on this same issue in, Jim, 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not sure exactly when the LUPAC meeting is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Meeting, information going out.